Our fourth panelist, Usma Udine, is a visiting professor at Catholic University's Columbus School of Law and a fellow at the Aspen Institute. Her presentation is entitled The Danger of Anti-Sharia Legislation to Religious Arbitration and Not Just by Muslims.
Thank you. Over the past decade or so, a raft of bills has been introduced across the country that purport to protect the US legal system and even Western civilization itself from the dangers of creeping Sharia or Islamic law. These anti-Sharia laws do nothing to actually stop the imaginary Sharia swamp creature from contaminating the US. Rather, their legal effect has been to intervene in the rather humdrum matter of how people of faith, whether they be Muslim, Christian, or Jewish, can resolve their family affairs, business disputes, and internal community matters according to their own religious traditions. The first generation of these anti-Sharia laws singled out Sharia specifically from all other legal traditions and described it as anti-American and treasonous. The second generation didn't single out Sharia, but instead included a number of other religious traditions. For example, an Arizona bill stated that courts cannot consider, quote, religious sectarian law, and then defined the term to include Sharia, canon law, halakha or Jewish law, and bizarrely, karma. The final evolution of anti-Sharia laws and the most common type of bill simply denies courts any consideration of foreign law, which it defines as, quote, any law, rule, or legal code or system other than the state and federal constitutions, state and federal statutes, and the ratified treaties of the US. The facial neutrality of these laws has enabled them to bypass First Amendment issues, and to date, they have been proposed in 43 states. These anti-Sharia laws don't solve any existing problems, but they do create new ones. Under US law, religious organizations have broad religious autonomy, and religious individuals, like all Americans, have broad freedom of contract. However, the US legal system already has plenty of safeguards built in. While the US Constitution, specifically its religious liberty clauses, allows for religious arbitration, there are limits. For example, religious arbitration is limited to civil law matters and does not extend to criminal law issues. Religious arbitrators cannot impose physical punishments or overstep the bounds of authority granted to them by federal and state law, regardless of what their religion may teach. Even in certain civil matters, for example, when children are involved, the state tends to exercise a bigger role, and in some cases may even flat out prohibit things like the arbitration of disputes over child arrangements in cases of divorce. And any time an arbitration decision is brought to a court for enforcement, the court checks to make sure that decision is fair by asking questions like, does it violate American laws in any way? Does the decision comply with American public policy? Did the parties submit to arbitration voluntarily? And does the decision unfairly discriminate against one party? Because we already have rules that regulate what religious arbitration can and can't do, anti-Sharia laws add no value. What's more, these broader facially neutral laws impact not just Muslims, but all religious believers who want to use religious arbitration. In fact, Sharia arbitration is rare compared to other types of religious arbitration in the United States. Many Christian and Jewish Americans consider religious arbitration indispensable to a faithful life. For example, Orthodox Jews use the Beth Din of America, a court of Jewish law that helps believers arbitrate disputes through the Din Torah process, obtain Jewish divorces, and confirm Jewish personal status issues. And Christian conciliation provides a framework for parties to resolve a dispute using mediation or arbitration based on biblical principles. What anti-Sharia and anti-foreign law proponents might not have realized is that these broader facially neutral laws impact not just Muslims, but all religious believers who want to use religious arbitration, including Jews and Christians. Thank you.